we're gonna list some cards. I got 3 PSA 10s that I need to list. The Boa Hancock from the Gift Collection 2023. Her raw price has actually gone way up. I sold one of her last week for best offer of 65, I believe it was. But her raw price now is up to like $20, something crazy like that. I think I only paid five for her. I ended up buying 4 copies of her when she was $5 or $6. And then the Yamato from the same set, she's still sitting around $7 raw. I sold her last week also for a best offer of 55 or 60, if I remember right. And figured I'd go ahead and get my last copy listed of her too. And then you got your storage box Japanese jewelry bunny. I bought a couple of these when they came out in Japan, back in January or February, I think it was, and I got them for $6 each. The first one of her, I ended up sending off 3 of those, and they all got tins. The first one of her I sold for $51 at auction, and I was playing around with the auctions. I had never done an auction on my store before, so I was playing around with them, trying to move some of the graded cards that weren't moving, a bunch of nines, a couple of tens, and she, my second copy of her sold to a best offer of 55. So this is the last copy of her that I have in a PSA 10, and I'm gonna list her probably 65 again. See if anybody wants her. That last one that I had listed on my store, she sat for 121 days. So some of the graded cards are a little bit slower to move. I really liked this card though when I saw it released in Japan, so I grabbed a few copies for myself. I still think it's a great card, and I'm glad that I still have one left. And then I'm also going to stop being lazy and get all of these common EBO2s listed. So I figured that I would show my process for listing all these cards. Let's go ahead and jump over and get into it. Alrighty, here we are in the create multiple listings. If you go to create new listing and then select bulk, that's usually the way that I do it. It's the way that I like to do it the most. And it gives me more control over everything as far as the information goes for each individual listing. And since I list a lot of bulk and I list a lot of cards at once, this is just the easiest way for me to do it. I don't mess around with any of the preset templates or copying other listings, none of that stuff. I've been doing this long enough with One Piece cards that I have a pretty good idea as to the way that I like to do it and what needs to be there and doesn't need to be there and all that stuff. So this is just the way that I do it. And for the first one, we are going to do let's do the Boa Hancock first, the PSA 10 Boa. So I'm going to slide over my photos that I took earlier. I got 2 for graded cards. And I am going to fix this photo. It's a pretty good idea to crop your images to give a better view of the thing that you're selling, for one. And when you have somebody who's searching eBay on a mobile device, it makes it a little bit easier for them to zoom in their screen to see items and listings. I tend to increase my brightness and contrast. This is going to vary depending on the way that you take your photos and everything. But for me, usually I kick up the brightness around 14 or 16. And I'll kick up the contrast just a little bit. Let's go ahead and get that in there a little bit more. The back of the graded cards, just the way that I take my pictures, you can kind of see it in this one a little bit. It's often, you can catch that glare because of the way that my lighting is. You can catch the glare of your phone or your hands. I try my best to make the picture as focused on the actual item as possible. So I try to avoid any reflections or glare or weird lighting situations. But there's some things that, you know, it's unavoidable. But take the best pictures that you can, especially when you're listing items that you're trying to sell for $50, $100, $150. I see a lot of listings on eBay where the photographs just aren't very good, or they didn't put very much time into it. And I think it says a lot when you actually take the time to make your items look as good as they can. And for the title, we are gonna do, I always start my title with PSA 10, so at first glance, anybody who's shopping for something knows exactly what my grade is. And let's do, what is she, OPO2 I think is the original card. OPO2 059, OPO2-059, and it is from the 2023 gift collection. Oh. One Piece TCG. The default setting for eBay wants to call it the CCG, and I'm not sure if it matters, CCG or TCG, but I like to include TCG in my title, and I force eBay to identify it as TCG, because I would assume that the majority of modern One Piece players are going to be searching for TCG as opposed to CCG. That's an assumption on my part. I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. When I search for cards, I tend to type TCG. And then I do, if I have enough room, I'll include English, because there are a lot of graded Japanese One Piece cards also. And when you come down here, you can skip some of the manual entry that you have to do. Yeah, she's a character. Alright, so here for game, see how eBay wants me to call it the One Piece CCG? I'll just manually type in One Piece TCG. And she is, One Piece is 6 and up. Not sure how much that matters, but some parents might care. She is an uncommon. She's an alt art. I wouldn't say she's a promo card. She's an alternate art. Manufacturer is Bandai. Attribute color. I usually do include attribute color. I'm not entirely sure how super important that is. You could probably bypass that if you want. The set. 2023 gift collection. Look at that. Already headed there for me. No autograph. There's the card number. There's the English. I don't mess with card size. I'm not sure how important it is. I just don't include it in my listings. And we want it to be graded. That's gonna take like 10 minutes for that to load. For some reason, eBay servers always take forever. That's not too bad. PSA. Okay, that one's gonna be the 10-minute one. Nope, never mind. She's a 10, and the cert number 119612623. If you do one of these listings by photo, a lot of times eBay's system isn't the smartest, but a lot of times it'll automatically enter a lot of this information for you. It'll catch in the picture that it's a 10 and your cert number and everything. I don't like to use that one because I end up having to go and add a bunch of stuff anyway, or fix stuff that the system messes up. Oh, we should probably enter that it's a 10 there in the description. I always include a description. I usually don't get overly detailed with the description. You can spend as much or as little time as you want on your description, but just keep in mind that a good chunk of buyers aren't even going to bother reading the description. Like, if we're being honest, a lot of buyers aren't going to bother reading your description. But I do include the basics down there just in case. I'm still getting used to this laptop's keyboard. And that's it for a graded card. All right, so here's my price. Let's go with, I'm gonna set her at 75 again. I did accept a best offer last time, but since her raw price has gone up so much, I think 75 is gonna be pretty fair. We'll see if anybody ends up wanting it or offering anything for it. eBay managed payments, make sure that that's there. Let's go ahead and turn on allow offers. For a long time, I left offers off because you will have people that are they'll send you like, oh, I'll give you $10 or whatever for something that you have listed at, 60, $70. So it can be frustrating, but with the graded cards, I realized that um, having that gauge for how much people are actually willing to pay for something that's in your inventory, and if you're in a position where you're like, okay, I do need to start moving some of this stuff, it does leave that door open for you. So you can set minimum offer if you want to keep it to a minimum of how many messages you're getting. But at this point now, I just leave the minimum offer off so that I can talk to people. They can give me a gauge as to how much people are actually willing to pay for whatever I have listed. And the way that I package it, it's going to be 3 ounces. It's going to be 7. It's going to be by 5. And it'll be 1 inch thick. And we want to change this business policy. We want to change it to free tracked 1 business day. So when you're setting up your business policies and your shipping policies, the way that I do it is anything that's $20 or above, I'll just give you free shipping, free track shipping on anything $20 and above. For all of my bulk cards that I sell, I have a business policy for 89 cents. So if somebody buys 1 set of cards from me, they pay 89 cents in shipping. If they buy 2, then it goes up by 20 cents. So they'll pay $1.09 instead. And I've left that the same all year, even though the post office did raise their prices. I do take a little bit of a hit on materials and postage on a lot of my orders, but 89 cents, it seems fair to me. What a lot of stores will do is they'll just give free shipping on everything, and they'll include the shipping in their price. That's what I tend to do on anything that's $20 or more. So if I have a $20 card that I want to sell for $20, then I'll just list it at $25. If I have sometimes when I even have a $16 card or an $18 card, whatever, I'll jump it up to like 23, 24, and I'll just list it as free track shipping. But for the bulk cards, the way that I like to do it is I try to encourage buyers to buy multiple sets. So if you buy 2, you only pay $1.09. If you buy 3, you pay $1.29. If you buy 5 items from me, so if you buy 5 sets of bulk from me, then you're just going to get free shipping at that point. So I try to encourage people to buy as many sets from me as possible because I do have a lot of listings. And it ends up saving you money in the long run. It makes you more money in the long run, because the way that eBay does their transaction fees is every transaction is 30 cents. So if I got Bob who buys, and this actually does happen a lot, it's something that you will notice once you start selling consistently. You're going to notice that Bob is going to buy a set of cards from you for $1, and he's going to pay the 89 cents. And then maybe 4 hours later, 2 hours later, the same Bob will buy another set of cards from you and pay the 89 cents shipping on that. And what eBay does in those circumstances is they hit you with that 30-cent transaction fee on both. So Bob buying 2 separate orders at 2 separate times means that eBay took the 30 cents on each of those orders. Now, if Bob would have put both of those items in his cart, not only would he have saved on shipping from me, but I would have saved on the transaction fee, because now that Bob has both of those sets in his cart, I only get the transaction fee for 30 cents one time, not 2 times. So you're gonna. I used the shipping policy that I have as a way to encourage people to buy multiple sets at once, because it lowers my overall transaction fees, and giving them a discount on shipping when they start to buy more is a good way to encourage people to add all the items into the cart. Now, a lot of people aren't even going to be aware of this. It's not really something that you can advertise to people. So if Bob does buy 4 sets of cards in one day, all separately, I just ship them out together, and eBay gets their transaction fees for each one. It is what it is. And I do enable returns. When it comes to cards, a lot of people will turn returns off. But the way that I see it is allowing free returns for your customers is beneficial, right? So if they report a defect or an item that they didn't want, or an item that they didn't order, like say that say that somebody says, "Oh, well, this isn't the graded card that I wanted." Well, eBay's just gonna side with them. They're gonna side with them. They're gonna force the return anyway. So eBay gives an incentive of becoming a top-rated seller, which I am, and it gives you that incentive if you offer the free returns. So I do offer the free shipping on the majority of my inventory, or not the majority, a chunk of my inventory, and I do also offer the free returns. I would recommend go ahead and turn on the free returns, because if somebody has an issue with one of your items, they're gonna find a way to send it back to you and get their money back anyway. Okay, so now I have 2 more graded cards to do, right? So I'm going to copy this original listing. I'm going to add 2, copy. Right. And then for the next listing, I can just come in here, real quick, like remove these photos. I can add the Yamato photos in there. I'll be able to edit those photos. I can make the minor adjustments to the title, and then go down here and start fixing the things that need to be fixed. Change the character name, change the rarity. I believe the Yamato is, yeah, she's a common, she's not an uncommon. And change the attribute color, change the number, come down here and adjust the description and change the cert number. That's very important. Make sure that your cert number is correct when you're listing graded cards. And then once I'm done with that one, I can just come down here and do the same thing on the third one. And so I can quickly go through and just bang, 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 bang. Because a lot of these, since they're all graded cards, they're all PSA 10s, they're all from One Piece, a lot of these details are going to remain the same. And then one of the other cool things about doing it from here is I can go into the category and my store category, and I can change that to graded cards, apply. There. Now all 3 of those have been added to my graded card inventory on my storefront. So this is one of the advantages of the bulk listing. It's why I like it. It's why I prefer to use it. And I'll just do this same thing over and over again with all of my card listings. And then once I'm done with everything, I'll just hit the submit here. All right, there was a few things that I did want to mention though. If you're listing bulk like me, the available quantity. Now, when I sell playsets on eBay, and when I list loose cards on TCG Player, I try to not list everything that I have all at once. When you have a whole bunch of bulk, it's going to start to get hard for you to keep track of everything, especially if you're running 2 separate storefronts. But you do not want to list your entire quantity just in general for cards. Now, for some cards like this Jonathan, it's a common. It has no effect. It'll probably stay sub 10 cents, sub 5 cents for years. But you still want to use caution with your quantity, because cards can, in One Piece, it happens very often where cards can overnight jump up in price because of a meta shift or speculation or something like that. When that happens, if you have all of your available quantity for these play sets listed on eBay at once, somebody will go and buy all of them. And me personally, I'm not the type of person to cancel orders. I've had things slip through the cracks. I've made mistakes. I've listed cards for lower than I should. So I'll let it go. If someone purchased it, they paid the money. I let it go. I send them the thing that they were expecting. It is what it is. You live and learn. So don't list all of your play sets at once. That is really good advice I can give you, because I've had things happen like Nijiko from One Piece, Sanji's Pilaf, Hatchin. These are just some cards off the top of my head. And this is going to be more common for your uncommons and rares, where prices will fluctuate really fast for certain cards. For commons, not as much. But it is still possible. For certain cards that have certain playability, a new leader might come out or something like that that makes it jump way up in price. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do not list all of your cards. So for cards that I have a lot of, like we're talking like 24, 40, 50, 60 copies of a card, I'll list like 8 to 12 on TCG Player at once, and I'll list one playset on eBay. And if you notice that a card is selling consistently all of a sudden, then you can go and actually physically check the market and see what's going on with that card, and then decide if you need to raise the price when you relist another playset. So that's what I do every day when I send out my orders. I'll go and I'll look at the playsets that are selling. If anything catches my eye, I go and check the market price, and then I'll relist those playsets to my store. So that, you know, it's a really important piece of advice that could end up gaining you quite a bit of money for certain things that happen once you've been doing this long enough. But anyway, so yeah, all I got to do now is I submit these 29 that are ready to go, see if it gives me any errors, and they're live. All right, thanks for watching the video. I appreciate it. If y'all have any questions, let me know, and take care.